Hi there, Max here from Max's Cake Studio. So today I'm going to show you Mr. and Mrs. Santa Claus cupcakes. So this is a tutorial on how to make a Mr. and Mrs. Santa Claus. So first of all, get 2 cupcakes and smooth some buttercream onto the top so that you can place the fondant. And then take some red fondant, roll it out, not too thin, and then get your cutter and just cut a circle, and then place a circle on top of one of the cupcakes and smooth it down. Make sure it's smooth all the way around the edges and stuck down, just so it doesn't come off again. And then take a sausage shape of red fondant, cut it in half, and now you're going to make the legs for Mr. Claus. So just shape it into an oblong type shape, which is a little bit chunkier at one end for the top of the leg. And just do a final smoothing shape, make sure you've got them both the same. And then get some black fondant, and now you're going to make the boots. So take a piece of fondant, roll it into a teardrop shape, and then just make it into the shape of a boot by pushing it at one end and thinning it at the other. Stick it onto the leg and then use a knife to make a heel. Do the same for the second leg, and then get some white fondant, roll it into a thin strip, and this is what you're going to use for the bottom of the legs, for the trousers. Then wrap it round where the boot and the leg meet, and then trim the edge neatly off and smooth it down. Do the same for the other leg, and then get a cocktail stick and just put lots of indentations in the white edging, and that'll give it a more fluffy look. So it'll make it look a lot more realistic and like a fluffy edge. Then use the edge of your cocktail stick to make the indentation for the heel a little bit better. Now take some black fondant and you're going to make a belt for the cupcake for Mr. Claus. Just trim it neatly on both edges. This belt needs to be fairly thick to go all the way around the edge of the cupcake. Get a little bit of water all the way around the edge and stick on the belt. Smooth it down so it's nice and neat and none of the red showing underneath. And then trim it where it meets with a sharp knife and smooth it down and neaten it off. Now take some yellow fondant, and this is going to be used for the buckle. Use a little bit of corn flour if it's sticky to stop it from sticking to the board. Take the edge of your palette knife and trim a square. And just try it against the belt to make sure it's the right size. If not, just trim it and straighten the edges, and use a little bit of water to stick it on. And straighten it down with the edge of your palette knife. Now take some black fondant, again trim it to the right size, and this is going to go for the centre of the buckle. Use a little bit of water and stick it on. Straighten the edges so it looks nice and neat, and then take the legs, again using a little bit of water, stick the legs onto the top of the cupcake, and there you have Mr. Claus. So put him to one side, then take some white fondant, and this is going to be used for the the first layer of Mrs. Claus's skirt, and then take the other side of the cutter and cut out a piece of fondant. Get your smoothing mat, take the edge of a cocktail stick and just run it on the centre of each one of the ruffles, and this will thin it down and give it a more petticoat type of look. So do all the ruffles all the way around until they're all nicely smoothed out and thinned down. And once you've done that, just gently ease it up off of the mat and just thin it out in the centre to give it that final stretch. Place it on top of your cupcake and gently smooth it down. Now take some red fondant, and you need a size of cutter that was smaller than the one you used for the white, and cut out another piece of fondant. Again, take your cocktail stick and thin out the ruffles all the way around. Use your palette knife to take it off the mat, smooth it and stretch it, and then place it on top of the white fondant. They both will be sticky, so they'll stick together. And now you're going to make the body of Mrs. Claus. So take a piece of fondant, taper it at one end, and then just smooth it and push it down to look like the top of a lady's dress. And then smooth it and shape it until it looks like the top of a dress. And get some white fondant, roll it into a thin strip, and this is going to be used for the edge of the dress. Put some water all the way around where you want the white fondant to sit, and then stick it on gently. And then trim the edge with a sharp knife where the fondant meets. And smooth the join together. And then make sure it's sitting on the edge nicely. Get a cocktail stick and again put lots of indentations into the top of the dress, and that gives it a more realistic, fluffy, Christmassy feel. Now take some black fondant and you're going to make Mrs. Claus's belt. Roll it out into a thin strip and use your pizza cutter to give you some nice straight edges on both sides. Now Mrs. Claus's belt needs to be thinner than Mr. Claus's because it's a lady's belt. Take a little bit of water, stick the body onto the top of the cupcake and put a little bit of water all the way around the edge of the body where it meets the cupcake and stick on the belt. Trim it at the edge where it meets and smooth the join. And make sure the belt is nicely stuck down. Now take some yellow fondant again and cut out a buckle. And stick it on to the belt using a little bit of water. Straighten the edges so it's nice and neat. Now take a little bit of black fondant and trim it for the centre of the buckle. Again, sticking it on with just a little bit of water. And straighten it up using the edge of your knife. And there you have Mr. and Mrs. Claus. Really great cupcakes for any Christmas party or event. I do hope you've liked this video. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.